Hey, Quants, I think I found something fairly interesting in the charts when I was just perusing today. And so I think we'll go over that today, just covering some of the nuances between different charts and potential different readings that we're seeing there. And then we'll have some other stuff coming out a little bit later today that is more quant based. And just to touch on some of the content that I put out in the past regarding the crypto devices, I I guess it was probably a week ago. I put out a video just demonstrating the Sui Play device, and I mentioned that I would try to go and take some of the NFTs from off the grid. I did a little bit of research on that. Off the grid, those NFTs that we got, it's still only on the test network, so those cannot be pulled into off the grid yet. And based on how gaming environments have been developing in crypto, I don't know if that'll ever happen. So I'll keep my eyes peeled for some kind of an announcement there to determine if we can, or if I'll be able to demonstrate pulling in NFTs from the test net over to, well, it won't be from the test net. It's when it comes to the official blockchain release or the main net, those assets are supposed to be copied over directly. And so if that happens at that point in time, then I'll see if I can demonstrate pulling those NFTs into the game. However, I never demonstrated playing off the grid, so that's something I still have on the docket to do. I'm thinking I might try to do something like a gaming Friday or something where I just play a little bit of games on Friday, and likely with the Sui Play device, just so I can continue to demonstrate that. I have to change my setup a little bit here. The videos that I recorded doing that have just had my main camera that sits on my desk pointing down, which works, but it's not ideal. I'm not going to invest a bunch of money trying to get a nice product demo type of setup going just yet, because I'm not sure if I'll be doing a lot of that content, but I think it might be something that will be interesting. And so in that same vein, I did mention that I would demo the Sui, not the I was going to demo the Seeker phone as well. And so I did get that set up. So just if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for that video. That'll be coming out. And then is that all of the kind of initial stuff that I just wanted to mention? Because I feel like I always forget it at the end. I do think that was it. So let's dive into the charts. So first things first, the chart that I've been using is the Bitstamp chart, and since I tend to show a lot of, I guess, trend following stuff and also some Gann stuff, when I draw my trend lines, I'm usually using like a Gann 2-bar swing to call out the pivot high and pivot low points. There are other people that do that as well, and one of those individuals, I noticed that they mentioned that the 1 day 1-bar swing was down along with some of the other swings. And so I was like, that's interesting. I haven't really noticed that, but I realized that I was using the Bitstamp chart, which is just something that I had been using for years and didn't really think too much about it. I don't know if it's actually the most valid chart to use. To be fair, it's probably not, because you don't really hear a lot of people talking about that chart anymore. But back in the day, it was kind of the go-to chart, I would say. And so I just hadn't switched off of that chart, even though I do for other things, bot trading and stuff like that. I'll usually reference the index chart. And so I thought it would be worth looking at those. And that's exactly what I was pointing out today, some of the interesting things that I noticed in the chart. And so the chart does look less bullish in terms of just pure Gann analysis using the Gann Swing indicator. If you're looking at other charts, if I'm looking at the Bitstamp chart here, I still see that the trends are all green, which looks great. And also we have this kind of rising parallel channel. So if you zoom out, it's kind of wedging together a little bit as it goes forward, but at such a rate that I don't really put too much concern on that, right? It just looks like a rising parallel channel, which is kind of what you want, right? If you're doing some trend following. So If I were to look at the CME chart, so let's look at the CME chart. It also looks like we have that same, and I didn't draw lines here, but I could just apply some simple lines here. It looks like that we also have that same kind of parallel channel. And so let me just get that back on there where I wanted it. I'll just take it out here so it kind of lines up. And so it looks like you have the same parallel channel. And so what I would say about that is, because the institutions tend to carry a lot more, I think tend to kind of have larger pockets. I would expect there to, and I haven't validated any of this, so this is speculation, of course. I would expect that chart to carry a little bit more weight because we're going to have more institutional play. Obviously, we're talking about a futures price, which isn't direct, which is supposed to be correlated to the spot price, but and generally I think it is, but obviously there's a little bit of a difference there, right? And so those two charts seem to align, which is nice. However, I do notice on here that the 1 day 1 bar has failed, whereas on the Bitstamp chart, it had, well, I say failed, it had changed the trend. It's no longer indicating a trend, whereas on the Bitstamp chart, we had this bounce, which caused it to maintain a bullish trend. Now, if we look at some of the other charts that I would honestly, if I was thinking about it, it would have been one that I would have been using. So generally, I use this index chart. And so with Gann analysis here, what we're going to notice is that all these trends kind of shifted down. And the reason this occurred is because of this giant wick here, right? And so that's one thing that I've been meaning to do with the Gann Swing indicator that I have, is I want to take this Gann Swing indicator, and so Gann says that you can use the highs and the lows, but it is theoretically possible to use open and close as the opening and closing prices as well. So you're not using the highs or the lows, but you're using the open price and the close price. I'm very curious personally to see how some of the strategies that I've built will work by using the open and close price versus just using the high and low price. And the reason being is I tend to prefer using a close price if I'm going to execute a trade, especially if I'm doing something discretionary, because I want to know that the price is locked in and I'm making my decisions based off of a closed price. Obviously, that comes with a caveat of not necessarily catching the very top or the very bottom, or even necessarily as close to the top or bottom as you might otherwise be able to get if you went down to if you're doing intraday trading and you went down to a smaller time frame, for example. But that is my preference. And so with the Gann, I haven't implemented this yet, but I will implement in the Gann Swing indicator the ability to select using the open and close versus just the high and low. And if I were to do that, I would speculate. I mean, I can look at this and say it would work out, that wick is not going to play into this parallel channel, because the parallel channel is still there. It just broke when we had that wick. And because the Gann Swing indicator is going to take that low, it invalidates some of these trends. So again, just something of interest there. I will also point out that that wick exists on quite a few exchanges. So if you drew that same line right here, you're going to see that wick breaks it as well. So from a trends perspective, you could argue that it has been invalidated using just the high and the low, because that crazy low wick that we had has caused the trends to turn down for multiple exchanges. Whether that was a manipulated signal or not, that's also one of the reasons that I prefer to go off of closes versus just using highs and lows. It kind of takes out some of that potential argument for saying it was a manipulated wick or scam wick. I guess that's yet to be determined, right? We'll see if we continue going up or continue going down on that. As far as my macro trend following strategy using the master strategy in a bull market. One of the best buy signals that you traditionally will get will be buying off of the 200s. So if you had your bids down at the 200s, obviously that would have played out well. I personally did not have any open limit orders there. We're getting up a little bit farther along in the context of the 4-year cycle for me to want to have any more to be allocating more money to the market at this point. And so I think I mentioned this in my previous video. Personally, 4-year cycle time wise, I'm just kind of waiting for the time to play out, see which direction the chart's going to go, and then potentially start taking some off, some out of the market. And so for that reason, I didn't have anything here. But from just a basic traditional standpoint, this would have been a great place to have a buy, and obviously you would have got that filled and you would be in profit if you would have done that. So that just wanted to highlight a couple of the different charts that I'm seeing there, how that changes when you're looking across the Gann Swing indicator, and then also just call out this kind of traditional signal on the 200s that we could have played and would have worked out. I guess the last thing, since I did not do it this time, and I should have written this down so I wouldn't have forgotten to do that, was the weekly trend strategy. So the weekly trend strategy looked like it was going to play out pretty well, but we tanked. So this failed Monday, and so it ended up closing out on midnight for a very small loss. Let's see if we look at the trading panel here. Sorry, the tester, list of trades. 1.17% loss. So again, this is just a very simple strategy that I thought would be interesting to look at. Potentially, you could just have moved this back in time, and it might even play out a little bit better than waiting till midnight. I didn't do that for this strategy, so I'm not going to go back and do that just to try and make this a winner. Although that seems like it would have worked out, and maybe historically it would have worked out better across all of the trades, and that's something to potentially test. So with that said, that will be everything that I'm going to go over for today. I've got another video, more quant related, that I'll put together here in a little bit. So if you're interested in more quant related stuff, I'll keep an eye out for that. This will be more technical in nature. And then, of course, I've got the crypto device stuff. I'll be doing some more updates on those. So that's it. Peace out, quants.